June, 1664. And the plague is hard upon us. It has become a commonplace thing to see the streets empty, and those that are in them walking apart or down the middle of the road. Now that I am over my first terror, I need something to occupy my mind. And to make my journal a comprehensive account of this plague year, I must interview people from all walks of life and get their stories. The thing that interests me most is the dead cart, and who would do such a job? Necessity leads men to desperate things. There is no work now, not for anyone. Workers concerned with clothes and furniture were the first to go. Weavers, seamstresses, glassmakers, upholsterers. There are no ships now in the river, except those trapped by circumstance, so no officers of customs are needed, or watermen, or porters, ship's carpenters, sailmakers, chandlers. Any workmen connected with building or repairing dwellings are laid off. The list is endless. And of course, many who are servants and laid off are no longer needed because their employers have left for the country. And for a time, I became a searcher of houses. Examiners are needed by the authorities, and it was thought that having been shut up in a plague house for a month, I was immune. It was needed that if a house was suspected of having an infection, an examiner should go and make stock to determine whether the house should be shut up or no. I did this for 3 weeks, the least time permitted. But after that, no more. The misery I witnessed. Of women with dead infants, old men with barely a stitch on their bodies, maid servants shut up at the top of the house with no provision. This will live with me a long time. But more of that later. But to the death carts, which come every night. There are no more burials in separate graves, but the dead cart comes and takes the bodies away to a pit, and no relative is allowed to see it. Not being able to attend funerals affects people greatly. And some follow the carts right to the gates of the cemetery, but they're not allowed in. They stand at the gate and mournfully wail. But there are some miracles in this God-forsaken place, and one I was told of concerned one John Haywood, under sexton to the parish of St. Stephen. I set out to find him, which I did, sitting by the gate of the cemetery with his pipe. John, are you bearer of the dead for this parish?
Aye, right enough, young master.
And how did you get this job?
For this I was gravedigger and bearer of the dead, but now there is no proper burials. I runs a dead cart and a bell, fetches the bodies out of the houses.
And your wife is a nurse, I understand.
Yeah, Rachel be nurse, and has tended many of the infected and many dead. Her honesty has been commended by the parish officers, for there's many a nurse will take what is not theirs from the houses of the deceased. But neither she nor I take what is not rightfully ours.
You have both stayed free from plague. How do you account for this?
Well, I swear it's by garlic and rue, which I keeps in my mouth at all times. And also the smoking.
Smoking?
I believe that smoking keeps my lungs from inhaling the disease. We often smoke a house that has had the plague, and my lungs is smoked the same.
And what about your wife? Does she smoke also?
No, not Rachel. She swears by vinegar.
Vinegar?
Yeah. She always washes her head and her hair in it, and she has her head cloth soaked in it, and holds a handkerchief soaked in vinegar to her nose. Helps with the smell too.
Do you think it's a miracle you've not been infected?
I give thanks to God, but also to our arts, the smoking and the pickling.
Pickling?
Well, my wife's head must be pickled by now. So strong is it, she smells of vinegar.
Now, John, there is told of a miracle resurrection from your cart. Can you speak to me of this?
Oh, of course I can, but you must have heard the story of Piper Sam.
I had, but I wanted to hear it from John's own mouth. Was it not said he was blind?
No, he weren't blind, just poor ignorant fellow what had been taken by the drink. Before the plague times, he used to go piping around at 10 of the clock every night from door to door. Folks would usually take him to the public house and give him drink and victuals where he was known. And he would play on for farthings. Of course, things have not been easy. I've known poor Sam when he was almost starved. And said to him how he did. He would say, "The dead cart has not come for me yet, but promised to call next week." And I'd give him a piece of bread and wish him well. Anyway, this night, he'd fallen asleep in a doorway and someone had put bodies alongside him for collecting. Well, I come round that night and I collects them along with him. He was dressed in rags and I didn't recognise him, thinking him just another poor soul what had died of the plague. I went on collecting, and so the fellow were almost buried in the cart, but he kept on sleeping, not moving a muscle. I must have collected nigh on 20 bodies that night. And then I makes my way to the graveyard. But when we gets to the pit, there's a stirring amongst the bodies. And suddenly, Sammy pops up his head and says, "Where am I?" Well, I was mighty shocked, I can tell you. But I helps him down, and after a drink of beer from a bottle I had, off he goes piping away. With me giving him a penny for his trouble, and I promise him more beer next time I sees him. Pickled, he see? Too pickled for the plague to take hold. Well, that's what I reckons anyway.
This story cheered me for a few hours, but soon enough my spirits felt low again. Is there no end in sight to this terrible pestilence? I sleep fitfully and often have strange dreams where I search the streets for my family but can't find them. I wake as tired as I went to bed, and my thoughts trouble me constantly. Will life ever be the same again? And many say things will only get worse. Who will save us from the wrath to come, if it be worse than this terror that is yet upon us?